Now, our attention will be switching across to the European Moto2 Championship. The fight will be as tight as ever in this one, with a couple of reigning champions or former champions making the way into the championship, including your pole man in Hector Pons. As you can see, conditions nowhere near any better than what they were when we came on air an hour ago. The rain still continuing to fall here in Portugal at the Circuito de Estoril. It's round one of the championship, 2 races today for the Moto2 guys, but this is your season review from the 2018 Moto2 Championship. Hector Garzo, your 2018 Moto2 champion, now made his way up into the World Championship, 18 laps ahead for the European Moto2 Championship here at Estoril, 4.2 kilometres in length. In terms of a lap record, when it comes to the Moto2 guys, they're not going to be getting anywhere near it at all, but a 1:42.064. The fastest ever lap we've seen in the European Moto2 Championship here in Estoril 2 years ago, courtesy of Ricky Cardo's. It's of course our 3rd year that we're visiting the Portuguese circuit, the 2nd time that it's been our season opener. Track temperature just gone up ever so slightly, a couple of degrees. Air temperature slightly higher as well, but still pretty chilly out there, I would imagine, Elliot.
It is chilly. The rain has eased off, thankfully. Just running to and from the interviews, it's still drizzling. It's that sort of light rain, but it's drizzle, so it just gets you absolutely drenched, and it's really annoying. But yeah, thankfully it looks like it's slowing down as the Moto2 guys come up to line up on the grid.
It's that fine rain that gets you absolutely soaked.
Absolutely.
Which is not very pleasant working conditions for the guys on pit lane, or, well, should we say working conditions for any of the guys on the grid. You can see the new tarmac here. It was resurfaced, the Circuito de Estoril, in October. The good news is, often, as we said earlier, when a circuit is first resurfaced, especially in wet conditions, it can be quite greasy, quite slippy, but actually they're finding it to be surprisingly grippy in wet conditions. I mean, you could say it'd be very difficult to guess that, given the amount of fallers we had in the European Talent Cup, but I'm sure, hopefully, in the Moto2 class we will see slightly less fallers.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know if you guys saw last season here, but it was mixed conditions for the first Moto2 race, and we saw Hector Garzo go down at turn 1. That was before, of course, the new tarmac was laid. So yeah, like you say, that when we were speaking to a few guys in pit lane, it was quite a grippy track surface. So yeah, these guys are a little bit more experienced than the European Talent Cup guys, albeit on faster bikes. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Hopefully we don't see any crashes at all. But yeah, let's wait and see as the pole man rolls onto the grid.
He is number 57 of Hector Pons, a former European Moto2 champion back in 2015, runner-up last year, and you could possibly put that down in part after a nightmare opening round here at Estoril. He crashed in race 1 and then didn't start in race 2 as a result, and having finished runner-up by just under 50 points in the end to the eventual champion Hector Garzo, you can probably put his performance here in Portugal partly down to the fact that he finished 2nd. In terms of qualifying, though, he is the man to beat. 4 poles to close out 2018, with pole position here at the start of 2019. It makes it 5 on the bounce for the former World Championship contender. Just 23 years of age. That does surprise me for Hector Pons.
Yeah, he's a name that you feel like he's been around for an absolute age. But yeah, seeing that he's only 23, has quite a bit of experience as a 23-year-old. He's been in the Moto2 World Championship previously. And yeah, like you say, second in the championship last season, winning 4 races, 2 in Aragon. The others come in Jerez and Valencia.
Yeah, it seems like he's been around for ages. Another man that I'm sure will be familiar to a lot of race fans is this man, of course, number 18 of Nicky Tooley. Will be part of the Moto2 World Cup when that gets underway later in the year. He's with the team Stylo Bike Calix, is the Finnish rider. He's got World Supersport experience and World Moto2 last year as well. We have a solitary World Championship point in Valencia. And then on the outside of the front row, great performance from this man, Kazma Daniel Kazmirdin. He's part of the Dynavolt SIC junior team. He's got Moto3 experience in the World Championship, but he actually started off his season a little bit earlier than everyone else. He was out at the Asia Road Racing Championship, the first rounds they had in Sepang, picking up a double Supersport podium, but making the switch across to the Moto2 bike seems to have done it quite nicely.
Yes, and here is 4th on the grid, Jerry Salim, the Indonesian rider for Astra Honda Racing Team, sorry. 21-year-old, 17th overall in the Red Bull Rookies last season with a best result of 8th, and this is his first season on a Moto2 machine, so great to see him all the way up in 4th on the grid.
Yeah, debut on a Moto2 bike, impressive stuff from him, a part of the junior talent squad, was last year and is this year with the Astra Honda Racing. Conversation still ongoing between Tommaso Marcon's team, the team Chiatti Speed Up bike, only 19 years of age, one of the more inexperienced or youthful riders on the grid is the Italian. Rookie of the year in this championship last year with a best of 3rd at Jerez. So he, again, having been the best rookie in the championship last year, no surprise to see him up on the grid in 5th place at round 1.
No, exactly, and Rookie of the Year, a great way to start his campaign, and then this year he'll be wanting to go even further, so more podiums and potentially even fighting for victories. But here we see Hector Garzo, the 20-year-old Spaniard, 4th in the European Moto2 Championship in his debut season. And he's also got 4 Moto2 starts, Germany, Jerez, Le Mans and Mugello in 2018. Best position of 20th at Mugello. So he's got good experience. He was 8th in Estoril Race 1 last year, so he knows this place. And he's another guy who is competing in the debut Moto2 season for Tech 3E Racing.
He is 3rd in the championship last year with 4 podiums. So he is a man to keep your eye on, as is this man, Jari Montella. Teammate to Tommaso Marcon, part of the team Chiatti Speed Up squad. He's making the move up from the Moto3 class, 3 years in the Junior World Championship, with best finishes both coming here at Estoril. In 2017 he was 5th, 2018 he was 6th, so he likes the Circuito de Estoril, proven by the fact that on his debut on the Moto3 bike he's up onto the front of row number 3.
Yeah, good qualifying for him, and also a solid qualifying for this man, Alessandro Zacconi for Promo Racing on board a Calax, sorry, not a Calax. 10th overall last season, only 1 DNF, so shows he's got consistency in his pocket, and a best finish as 4th in Valencia. So he'll be looking to improve on that this season, get his first podium under his belt. Let's see what he can do in the wet conditions.
Another of many very talented Italian motorcycle riders to come from Rimini in Italy. You can add him to the list of Marco Bezzecchi, Stefano Manzi, Enea Bastianini, just to name a few, all coming from that little town on the Italian coast. Here's the outside of row number 9, Mikkel Pons, the number 77, part of the team Nobby Blumac squad. In fact, you can probably see him just to the left-hand side there. I don't think that's Nobby Duwader, is it? The team owner of this squad, 21-year-old, was 9th in the championship last season, so coincidentally finds himself 9th on the grid.
Yeah, good to see a bit of consistency there. I think we're looking at number 35, Benny Solis, the American AGR team rider. The 24-year-old lives in Barcelona, but he resides in North Hollywood too, so not bad there. 15th in the 2018 championship, a best of 10th at Jerez and Valencia. And last year he crashed out of both races, finishing P16 to get on board. but nearly getting to the points than a DNF in race 2.
Plagued with a back injury for pretty much the duration of 2018 was the American. Had spine surgery over the winter months to try and rectify that. So he's been going okay in pre-season testing and in free practice as well. Here's a familiar name, I'm sure, for World Championship viewers. Number 7 of Adam Norridin. Just comes out from 2, possibly 3 years actually in the Moto2 World Championship. Is now still a part of the SIC junior team, the Sepang International Circuit junior squad. But this time he's made the step up to Moto2, but back down to the European Championship after 3 years in the Moto3 World Championship. Yeah,
it'll be good to see how Norridin gets on. Obviously experienced on the world stage, coming back down into the European setup. So yeah, I'm interested to see how Norridin gets on.
Here's Ramdan Rosley. He's on outside of row number 4, a part of the 1XOXTKKR What a mouthful that is.
That is a mouthful.
Team. But let's run you through starting grid. On pole position for the 5th time in 5 races is Hector Pons, followed by Nicky Tooley and Kazma Daniel Kazmiuddin.
Row 2 is Jerry Salim, Tomasco Marcon, and Hector Garzo.
Row number 3, Yari Montella, Alessandro Zaccone and Mikkel Pons.
Row 4 is Benny Solis, Adam Norridin and Ramadan Rosley.
Row number 5, the super charismatic tie rider Kevin Kubo, followed by Matthias Magel and Matteo Ferrari.
Row 6 is Cooper August and the Frenchman Cedric Tangri.
And back onto row number 7, where you find Danny Valle, Julian Meyer and Pitu Pauvalainen on a stock 600 machine.
Row 8 is Kevin August, Sam Wilford, the British rider, and number 24, Joan Diaz. Number 48, 24th on the grid.
Row number 9, Marcel Brenner, Alessandro Zetti and Anapab Saramon.
Row 10 is Alex Ruiz, Matteo Ciprietti and Takeshi Ishizuka.
And then at the final place on the grid, the number 29. How old is he again? Upwards
65,
of 60
I think.
Years of age.
Amazing.
On the back of the grid, Livan Luchel. So we're going to get underway in the European Moto2 class very shortly, as the riders will be let out onto the warm-up lap. Surely he is the man to beat. Hector Pons, runner-up in the championship in 2018, a former champion back in 2015. He's got World Championship experience. In qualifying alone, he was over 1.3 seconds quicker than anybody else. The number 57 is, without a doubt, the big favourite coming into this 18-lap race.
Yeah, ahead of the start, it looks like it's his race to lose, but as we know, anything can happen in these conditions. And talking of conditions, if my eyes don't deceive me, it looks like it's stopped raining. As we see someone coming down pit lane after an issue, can't quite see who that is.
Just in front of us in our commentary position, it is someone just getting wheeled off the grid. Unfortunately, the back end of the bike is facing us, so we can't see the number at the front to be able to identify them. They're just trying to get the bike going, similar to what we saw from Jose Rueda in the European Talent Cup. The bike just stalled on the grid, currently mechanic on it, bump starting it, they've got it going. So whoever it is, they are going to start from pit lane, you would imagine. We'll try and get a number and identify that man for you, because it's just out of our reach for us to be able to see. It certainly wasn't any of the front runners on the first 4 rows of the grids, though, as these guys get their first opportunity just to test out what the grip levels are going to be like. Hector Pons are the same, qualifying 154.440. That was about 12 seconds slower than the fastest ever lap set here back in 2017 by Ricky Carduce. Track temperature still no great shakes at 15 degrees.
Remaining constant, isn't it? And there's not much wind, so the track, if it does stop raining, which it looks like it has just about, it's not going to dry quickly. The circuit of Estoril covered in trees, not much wind, and as you say, no sun. So it doesn't look like it's going to dry that quickly.
Not a perfect recipe by any stretch of the imagination.
Not at all.
So it's Hector Pons that leads them round. It's, I think, a big year for him, is Hector Pons, given the fact that he's had 2 years in the World Championship last year, and then he's back into this Moto2 class last year and this year as well. Anything other than a championship win will be a failure for him, surely. I think that's fair to say. I think he'll be looking at it as this is not a make or break year as such, but he'll definitely be wanting to mount a serious title challenge. and at 23 years of age as well. Certainly he's got plenty of time to win this championship this year and then make his way back up into the World Series for 2020. His best finish, incidentally, in the World Championship was 31st back in 2016, so he never really acclimatised to the World Championship that well. But year on year, whenever he's been in this European Moto2 class, he has been a very tough man to beat, has the number 57, just trying to get that last little bit of warmth into the rear and front Dunlop tyres on his Kalex machine. As we get underway, you'll be able to hear the noticeable squeal of the Honda engines. That's the man who was going to have to start from pit lane, the number 16 of Alex Ruiz. Should have been on what, row number 6 or 7, I believe. Looking down the grid, yeah, Alex Ruiz, he was quite a long way back. Yeah, there he was, 28th on the grid, so even further down than that, row number 10. But instead he's going to start from pit lane. We see the green flag waved at the back of the grid. The European Moto2 Championship is going to be getting underway shortly. Wait for the lights to come on and then come out. Away we go. And it's a great start from Hector Garzo from pole position. A poor start from Kazmiuddin on the outside of the front row. But surely it's going to be Pons to take the whole shot into turn number 1. Through from row number 2. That looks like it's Nicky Tooley. No, sorry, he was on the inside of the front row. A good start from him to take second. But it is Pons that leads through turn number 1.
Yeah, Jari Montella got a great start, the number 55 there in 4th place, but it is the poleman Hector Pons. Oh, who's that crashed out?
We'll find out who it is shortly. Meanwhile, up to 2nd place is Kazmiuddin. He pulled a massive wheelie off the start grid, but somehow has managed to recover to get himself back up into 2nd. Through into 3rd place is Jari Montella on board the speed up, but this is not what any of the men behind would have wanted to see. Hector Pons hit the front straight from the get-go.
Yeah, he's got a 0.407 gap, so nearly half a second, and we've not even completed half the lap yet. Who's that? Oh, Hector Garzo.
Oh, what a disastrous start for him. 3rd in the championship last season, but he's crashed out at turn number 2 in the first race. So the Tech 3 man on the back foot almost immediately in the championship chase. Meanwhile, it's still Pons that leads with Kazmiuddin chasing him down. One thing with Kazmiuddin is his racecraft is possibly going to be slightly more fine-tuned than anybody else, having already participated in 2 races out in Sepang for the first round of the Asia Road Racing Championships. No more than a fortnight ago.
Yeah, he got a double podium in the Supersport Asia Road Race Championship at Sepang, like you say. So yeah, he's probably well accustomed to racing by now, whereas these guys are taking part in their first race.
Has to be said, in very different conditions.
Yes.
Though.
Nonetheless.
Here is Pons making his way through the final sector for the first time in this one.
Top 4 breaking clear already. 1.2 is the gap from Solis in 5th. Good start from Benny Solis to Tooley in 4th. So yeah, as you can see,
it's that front 4 that's starting to break clear already. And as they come across the line, it's Pons, Montella, Kazmiuddin and Tooley separated by half a second. 2 seconds back on him is the American of Benji Solis, and then Mikkel Pons, 4 seconds adrift of your race leader, down in 6th place. Good start from
that was close.
Kemins Kubo, just missed that. Meanwhile, Kazmiuddin diving back under the inside of Nicky Tooley to take 3rd place. Montella's the man on a mission at the moment. He's not letting Pons burst clear at all.
Yeah, I think it was Montella and Tooley getting a little bit close on the exit of turn 1. Nearly collided. Luckily, nothing came of it. But yeah, as you say, Hector Pons isn't getting that gap. 0.3. As you can see, there's nothing in it so far.
He's not Montella, he's looking fairly good in 2nd place at the moment, just stalking Hector Pons out front.
Is he going to go for a move?
He is, he's going to look to dive under the inside. He shows his front wheel to Pons, but no way through. Meanwhile, Nicky Tooley behind does make his way through on the run into Parabolica Interior to take 3rd place. He's going to run slightly wide. Is Kazmiuddin going to be able to slip back underneath him? No, he's not. As we were then, with Tooley in 3rd, Kazmiuddin in 4th. Meanwhile, those front 2 just breaking clear ever so slightly, and I think that's possibly why we saw the move from Nicky Tooley. You could see that both Pons and Montella were starting to just bridge a gap to 3rd and 4th.
Yeah, the last thing Tooley wants is the top 2 to get clear from him, because in these conditions anything can happen. You don't want to be pushing too hard in the early stages to try and close down a gap. So yeah, Nicky Tooley doing the right thing to get past Kazmiuddin, as Montella looks not quite.
Yeah, these three are breaking clear now. Kazmiyedin just struggling to hold on in 4th place. He's already getting tailed off the back of the Finnish rider, Nikki Tuuli, who himself is ever so slightly closing in onto the rear of Montella. Meanwhile, we could see a change for the lead because Montella gets the run through Parabolica Ayrton Senna and hits the front for the first time. Oh, what a run he got through turn 13 there.
Nothing wrong with that speed up down the straight.
Certainly not. Was able to so easily put a big gap into Pons. And unsurprisingly, he is the fastest man on track, the 19-year-old Italian.
Yeah, 158.5, I think that says on the timing screens, whereas Pons did a 159.1. So yeah, easily the fastest man on the track. Tuuli, meanwhile, also in the 58. So as you can see, he's right up on the tailpipes of Pons. So can he find a way past now, Pons?
Montella, having spent 3 years in the Junior Moto3 World Championship, a part of the Sitch 58 Squadra Corsa team, now made his move up into the Moto2 category. We said on the starting grid that he likes Estoril. Last year, he got his best result here. 2 years ago, he got his best result here. And at the moment, he's on course for another best ever result, leading this race and quite comfortably. He's over a second clear now of Pons.
Tuuli climbing all the way, all over the back of Pons here. Can he find a way through? Because, like we were saying earlier, he doesn't want to see Montella get clear at the front.
He's not, and you can see there's a little bit of panic in the way he's riding. Number 18 of Nikki Tuuli was all over the back of Pons there. That's a distraught Hector Garzo. His start to the Moto2 class. Where was he? In 5th place, just took the front on the way through.
Looks like just a cold tyre, or maybe pushing too hard on the first lap. So easily done, like we've said before, in these treacherous conditions.
Back at the front, and Pons still managing to hold off Nikki Tuuli. And I think the frustration for Tuuli is going to increase more and more as the laps tick away, because Montella at the front, he's going to be well over 2 seconds clear now as they come down the start-finish straight for the second time. Tuuli's got a good run through the final corner there. He's going to draft his way past Pons. And I tell you what, Pons is either really poor out of that final corner, or the Calyx of his is pretty slow down the start-finish straight.
Yeah, that's both.
Montella and Tuuli that were so comfortable in just drafting their way past him.
Yeah, that must be, of course, all these Honda machines have the same engine, so it can't be the engine. So yeah, like you say, it's maybe Tuuli and Montella getting a better run out of the exit, and yeah, getting past on the straight.
So now opportunity for Tuuli to try close in on the race leader, Jari Montella. The gap was just under 2 seconds by less than 100th of a second when they came across the line. And Tuuli has already been able to pull in 0.2 of a second, so but he'll have lost that almost immediately there as they run through turn number 4, the VIP curve.
Kazmiyedin isn't losing that much time to Pons. He's sticking with him, less than a second behind this battle for second as they all chase down the leader, Montella, who now has a 1.9 second gap at the front to Tuuli.
He is holding in so far as Kazma Daniel bin Kazmiyedin, the 18-year-old Malaysian, making his first Moto2 appearance as well, having found his breeding ground in the Moto3 championships over the past couple of years. And you're right in what you say, Elliot. I thought he was going to get tailed off, but
it did look that way, but he's, like we say, less than a second off, quicker, 0.2 quicker in that third sector than Pons, so he isn't letting him get away. The pole man could be struggling for a podium here in these early stages.
Montella, meanwhile, continues out front, and if anything, he's just going to increase his gap ever so slightly. Both him and Tuuli through sectors 1, 2 and 3, pretty similar, despite the mistake from Tuuli, which will see Montella keep a 2-second advantage as they come across the start-finish line to complete lap number 4.
Yeah, over the line we go. What's this lap time from Montella? It's another fastest lap of the race, is it? Yes, it is.
That's Benny Solis who's out of it. He's come down pit lane in front of us. Disaster for Edgar Pons, his teammate. Did he go down?
What's happened
He
here?
was in 5th place. Yeah, he's took the front at the S's. He's managed to pick the bike up and bring it back down pit lane, but the American is out of it. He was on course for a 5th place finish, which would have been his best ever in the Moto2 class.
Yeah, the American not going well with the S's. Last year he crashed on the right-hander, the corner just after where he's just crashed, so
caught out again at the
S
S's.
is not his best friend.
Meanwhile, your race leader, Jari Montella, the fastest man on track, 157.262. about 3 seconds slower than what they managed in qualifying yesterday. His gap now up to and over 2.5 seconds to Nicky Tooley.
Yeah, he's stretching his advantage. 3/10 clear of Tooley, 4/10 clear of Pons in that first sector. Let's see what the... Well, I say that, Tooley and Pons both quicker than Montella in that second sector, so I think he's just eking it out. Of course he is pushing, but I don't think he wants to push too much. As we know, in these conditions, it's treacherous. As Tooley is breaking away from Pons. Pons now a second behind the Finnish rider.
Surprised by Pons' performance here to have been so strong in qualifying, 1.3 seconds clear of everybody else. He just seems to be struggling to latch onto the pace. Maybe it's taken him a couple of laps just to acclimatise himself to these conditions, because at one stage he thought he was going to get dropped off and could possibly fall into the latches of Kazmiedin, but he seems to have regrouped, and if anything, he's now just closing in on Tooley. He's got a second ahead of him, or that was the gap last time around. Looks to be possibly slightly slimmer, if anything slightly less, as they come round Parabolica Ayrton Senna and down the start-finish straight. Montella out front though, continues to be as impressive as ever. That speed-up machine, not really the choice of motorcycle when it comes to the Moto2 World Championship, but you're going pretty well on it here.
He is indeed, and just going back to the point about Pons, I think with 2 DNFs at the start of last season, he'll be wanting to start his 2019 title challenge with at least podiums. The last thing you want to do with 2 races for Moto2 is crash in the first race, wreck your bike, maybe not get out for the second. So yeah, he'll just be wanting to not make any silly mistakes, get his title challenge off to a good start. On a podium, I think, would be a good start. But let's see how he goes with the rest of his race. He's 1.5 now off Tooley, 3/10 slower in that first sector.
A bit of a bobble there for Montella, as they made his way through. I think that was turn number 5. Yeah, they flick it through there, and now hard on the brakes into Parabolica Interior, turn number 6. The gap is under 2 seconds now. That mistake made from the Italian has just allowed Tooley to whittle the gap down to under 2 seconds for the first time in the past 3 laps. Still the fastest man on track is Jari Montella, though. His Kazmiedin is just falling out of the clutches of the podium battle now. He's got 2.5 seconds ahead of him as the Malaysian, if he wants to try and bring himself into contention for a debut podium in his debut race. Down the order as well, 5th at the moment. Good ride coming from Ramdan Rosley, another of the Malaysian riders. He's in 5th. Mikkel Pons is there in 6th. And then in 7th place, it's Matthias Magel, the German. In his rookie year last year, was able to pick up a best finish of 8th at Valencia, so up to 7th at the moment. Good ride coming from the German. But at the front, it's Montella that is continuing to impress aboard that speed up. 1.9 seconds the gap last time around. They come across the line now to make it 12 laps remaining. He's able to pull it out by 1/10 of a second.
Nicky Tooley going slightly quicker on that lap. But was Kazmiedin puts in his personal best, or is it the race best?
It is. It's the fastest lap of the race coming from the Malaysian. And that's impressively quick as well. A whole second quicker than Pons in front of him. So Daniel Kazmiedin is the man on the move at the moment.
Yeah, Pons 3/10 slower than Montella at the front. So he looked good halfway around that lap. Purple sector in sector 2. But yeah, as you say, Kazmiedin closing him in by almost a second, yeah.
It's good stuff from the Malaysian, whereas the Italian aboard the Team Chiatti speed up will be watching his pit board very closely, because that gap is just remaining fairly constant at 2 seconds, but all it takes is one little blip. It'll allow Tooley, that carrot dangling in front of him, to come ever so slightly closer. Tooley, incidentally, has pulled in 0.3 of a second in sector 2, so it's now just over 1.5 seconds between first and second. I think this could go a very similar way to what we saw the European Talent Cup race go, where slowly but surely Fenton Seabright was able to close in on the eventual race leader and make a bit of a race of it. I think Tooley is slowly but surely going to get himself onto the rear.
Yeah, with 12 laps to go, it's just about biding your time. You don't, like I say, you don't want to push too hard. 1.6 seconds is a nice little gap. You can see him, like you say, the carrot dangling. Let's see who's quicker on this lap, though.
There's Hector Pons just having a bit of a bobble as he went through Gancho, turn number 9. They're now into 11, 12, and they'll flick it now right through into Parabolica Ayrton Senna. He's going to have company very shortly because Daniel Kazmiedin, his pace has just tapered off ever so slightly on this lap. But again, he's someone closing in on Pons.
Thule almost 5/10 quicker on that lap, so he's closed it in by half a second. The gap now 1.493.
Here comes the wind. Oh, that's a faller. Is that Kazmiedin? I think it is. He's crashed out of 4th place. Daniel bin Kazmiedin crashing out into turn number 1. It looks like he's just took the front. He's up onto his haunches and now onto his feet, so he's okay as the Malaysian. But just as he was putting a charge together to get onto the podium, he's took the front on the way into turn 1. And a Dynavolt intact. Sepang International Circuit man. Oh, he got it all wrong there. I think he's possibly got onto the white line there because it looked like the rear's come round on him. That is a strange crash for the Malaysian.
That is a strange crash. As he got on the brakes, the rear sort of came round, didn't it? That's, yeah. And Hector Pons was lucky there that the bike didn't collect him going into turn 1.
Very fortunate. And lucky he's okay as well because that was a strange crash for Kazmiedin. We'll get another go at it later on this afternoon, though, just like the European Talent Cup. 2 races for the European Moto2 guys today. So a sigh of relief for Hector Pons because now he's got a 9.6 second gap to Ramdan Rosley, another Malaysian, back to 4th place. But the battle for the lead is heating up. Nicky Thule, the fastest man on track last time around, got the gap to under 1.5 seconds for the first time. Bit of a response coming from Jari Montella this time around, though. Looks like it's going to be a personal best lap from him. It definitely has stopped raining because on our timing screens in front of us, we're seeing blue lap times everywhere that indicate personal best. Nearly everybody is going quicker lap after lap after lap as the conditions improve.
Yeah, the drizzle seems to have stopped outside our window as we come round with 11 laps to go. Let's see how, if Thule has closed the gap. It's 1.5 at the minute. Let's see as they cross the line. Fastest lap of the race from Montella. Good response.
Great response.
I think Thule just a 10th behind. So, yeah, like we say, the gap's staying around about 1.5 seconds, 1.6 at the minute, with Pons 4.9 off the race lead.
I think Pons will possibly just settle for 3rd at the moment, being 3.5 seconds back. He was a second a lap slower than the leaders last time around, so it looks like it's going to be a fairly comfortable final podium place for Pons. If he can hold on, still 10 laps to go, plenty that can happen, but the battle for the lead, it appears, is going to come down between the Italian and the Finn. Oh, he's wide there, is Montella. He's going to lose a little bit of time. It is double apex and late one as well.
Out the seat.
Moment for the Finn on the exit of Parabolica Interior. He'll lose some time there. And Nicky Thule has possibly the worst nickname in all of motorsports, The Wind. The Wind. Which is, it just means nothing. It is a terrible nickname.
I'd understand if it was go like the wind, run like the wind, but just the wind, yeah.
Just Nicky the Wind Thule. Terrible nickname. But he's going pretty well at the moment. Good practice for him, of course, before he gets aboard the IO Motorsport Moto E machine. We'll get underway in Le Mans later in the year. And he's definitely a little bit closer visibly now. It is still remaining at 1.5 seconds, despite that moment through Sector 2. Recomposed himself and put the best Sector 3 we've seen in this race so far, full stop. And as a result, that gap will be under 1.5 seconds as they come across the start-finish line now. They're into the final corner of Parabolica Ayrton Senna. Wind it up before they make their way down the 300-metre long start-finish straight. It's the Italian, the number 55, Jari Montella, who's the complete lap number 9. The gap now down to the smallest it's been all race long. 1.1 seconds, as you can see on your screen. Hector Pons 5.5 seconds back in a lonely 3rd place. Ramdan Rosley still there in 4th. Mikkel Pons there. We've got a couple of fallers. That's the number 50 of Anapab Sarmoon, a part of the VR46 Master Camp.
Looks like it's turn 7, Jack.
Is that turn 7? Yeah, it looks like it is. Arella. And that's the number 45, one of the Super Stock 600 machines as well. I think
Leon August, the German rider.
One of the August twins, Leon and Kevin August. Have the pair had a coming together? August has got going again, but Sarmoon is struggling to get going. Finally will get back underway, will the Thai rider.
Here we go.
So yeah, it's turn number 7. We can't see where the incident occurred. They're not particularly close together. I'm trying to see if there's any fists been waved. I think it could possibly just have been.
I think it was 2 separate crashes. Yeah.
Oh, possibly not. There was quite a venomous glance from Sarmoon in the direction of August, which possibly could indicate that he feels that he's been taken out. But we're playing a guessing game. Meanwhile, back at the front, and it's been another good response from Montella. It's not the first time we've seen that, where Tooley sets one of the fastest laps of the races. Montoya, the next lap, sticks in one of his best laps. It was 1.1 seconds, now out to 1.6. So Montella seems fairly comfortable out front, that when he has to increase his pace and when he has to increase that gap, he can do.
Yeah, coming round the parabolica. Let's see what the time is across the line. But to me, on the screens, it looks like Montella has pulled out that gap again.
Yeah, he looks comfortable out front at the moment, does the Italian.
Yeah, could be above 2 seconds if my eyes don't deceive me.
So there's Montella coming across the line, completing lap number 10.
1.8.
Fastest lap of the race from the Italian, a 1:55.791, 0.8 of a second quicker than Nicky Tooley in second. Is this, with 8 laps to go, his push towards the race win?
Yeah, here we see Pons in a comfortable third, 4.6 off second Tooley, but 8.8 clear. So, yeah, he's just got to keep his head down and get a third place to kickstart his championship.
There's Ramdan Rosley still holding on to a lonely 4th place, is the Malaysian rider, part of the 1XOX TKKR SAG team, otherwise known as Remy Gardner's squad.
I think that's a little bit easier to say.
It is. The junior team of Remy Gardner's Moto2 World Championship team.
And Nagashima, of course.
Who I'm sure that squad, knowing Remy Gardner, will possibly still be celebrating that debut World Championship podium Argentina last week out. There's Montella out front. He does take a wide line through there.
Yeah, sector 2, he's set the best sector time, so clearly he's pushing on, feeling comfortable in these conditions.
And the gap now back over 2 seconds, 2.1 in favour of the Italian. And it was another fastest lap of the race coming from, a bit of a bobble there. We got onto a wet patch, did Nicky Tooley, as they now make their way in towards the S's. And yeah, Montella is definitely making his move for the lead. He has got some back markers to contend with ever so shortly. I think he might catch them at an opportune moment on track, though. It's number 51 ahead of him, and Matteo Ciprietti. So the last thing he'll want is his compatriot to hold him up. Ooh, he puts his hand in the air there. Yeah. Frustration surely showing from Montella, because Ciprietti held him up. You might see a big shake of the head. There you go, right on cue. The Italian not pleased whatsoever that his compatriot Ciprietti...
Has it lost him any time, though? I don't think... yeah.
Has lost a little bit.
3 tenths in that sector, so yeah, it cost him a bit of time. But Tooley has now got to overtake the number 51 rider, so let's see if it evens itself out.
His teammate.
Hopefully not for Tooley.
So for Tooley, he's got to get past his teammate. That's the number 31 gone down. Oh, Jerry Salim, a part of the junior talent team. The Astro Honda rider has gone down. Whereabouts on track is he there? It's on the left-hander where the long lap penalty is. So I think that's possibly...
Turn 4?
Yeah, could well be at turn number 4 for Jerry Salim. Having made such a great performance in qualifying, the Indonesian rider in his debut Moto2 race. He's crashed out. He was inside the top 6. Meanwhile, back at the front, Tooley has managed to get past his teammate with a gap under 2 seconds, so it's 1.9, 7 laps remaining. Montella is without a doubt still favourite, but with a couple of back markers slowly but surely coming into effect, I think we could see possibly a couple of twists and turns in this one. That's Takeshi Ishizuka in front of him. Is he going to hold up? No, it's all the blue flags. Well played, Ishizuka. Yeah, gets out of the way, allows the race to continue.
Yeah, Tooley lost another 3 tenths in that sector 2 to your race leader. Gap up to 2.2, let's see. Slightly quicker in the third sector, so again, it's hovering around 2 seconds.
For Montella at this point, it's his race to throw away.
It is.
He's proven on a number of occasions that when the gap does get to within 1.5 seconds, even below that mark, he's able to just up the pace ever so slightly to make it a little bit more comfortable. It was 1.7 seconds as we saw the graphic there, but the latest through sector 3, now up to 2.2. We'll see them across the start-finish line here to make it 6 laps to go. Another fast lap from Montella, 1:56.5.
3/10 quicker than Thule. So yeah, eking out that gap again, the gap up to 2 seconds. As you can see on your timing screens, with Pons 8 behind. A lonely race in third for the Spaniard.
Hector Pons, yeah, 6 seconds is the gap in front of him, 7 behind him as well. That is a definition of a lonely race. He's just having to tick off his markers, watch his pit board every time around, and make sure they can just ease his Kalex home.
It's like I said earlier, for Pons, 2 DNFs at the start of last season, didn't get his title challenge off to a good start. So a podium, a 3rd place in race 1 here in Estoril, a good solid result, and then he can build on it in race 2. But here we see the race leader coming down into turn 6, with Thule now 2.4 behind. So yeah, it looks like Montella is controlling the race superbly at the front.
Super impressive from the Italian, only 19 years of age. He really is looking like a star of the future. Is Jari Montella, Team Chiatti Speed Up, been a part of the 658 squad for the past 3 years, but to make his way up into the Moto2, he's decided to change teams from southwest Italy. He's up against some real experienced riders, especially on a Moto2 bike in Thule and Pons, and he's making it look easy at the moment.
He is, as we come into the S's. This will be a good result for Thule as well if we can hold it. 6 laps to go, anything can happen, especially in these conditions like we've said before. But yeah, as we say, Montella looking superb at the front as we come round the final corner. 5 laps to go as we cross the line. Let's see the gap, 2.5 at the minute. Thule though did close in by 2/10 in sector 3.
Yeah, he's managing to pull in just a little bit, Thule, just enough to make it interesting. 5 laps to go. Oh, that's a real gaggle of riders in front for Montella to try and get through. Now, this is going to be interesting. The first real test, surely, for Montella. 3 back markers, all within the space of nothing for him to try and dive his way through. He'll be praying that they see blue flags.
As we look at Pons, as we said before, good solid ride from him, the number 32. Ramadan Rosley, 7 seconds behind Pons. Another lonely race as he's 13 ahead of Mikkel Pons, who comes onto our screens there, number 77. Lapping quicker than Rosley in front of him though, 5/10, so I don't think he's going to make it up with 14 seconds.
No, he's going to struggle at the moment. There's a number 61 of Alessandro Zacconi, another promising Italian. That man from Rimini. As we go back down the order, Matteo Ferrari there in company with Adam Norridin that we mentioned. That's the battle for 8th place. Norridin in his debut Moto2 race. And Matteo Ferrari. He's another man that's going to be a part of the Moto E series, part of the Grassini bike.
Yeah, second in the CIV Superbike Championship to the experience of Mikkel Pons with 2 wins and 8 podiums.
That's no
so he's a quick rider.
Certainly is. No mean feat to be second to Mikkel Pons.
And yeah, as we said, Norridin into the European stage. Oh, a little bit of a switch from Norridin there as he tries to close the gap to number 11. What's the gap at the front? 2.2, staying a constant still. As we come in to turn 6, the interior parabolica, getting it sideways for Ferrari.
So 5 laps remaining, and it's the speed up that leads. And since the Moto2 class was brought in to this Repsol CEV back in 2010, a speed up has never won a European Moto2 race. They picked up their best result, a 2nd place in Valencia last time out in the 2018 season, but we've never seen a speed up machine parked in P number 1 in Parc Fermé.
Let's hope you've not just jinxed that, Jack. Fingers crossed for the race leader, Montella.
I was saving it for the end, but I thought I might as well get it out there. Meanwhile, this could possibly settle the race because Nicky Thule has been held up for 2 or 3 turns now by Anupab Sarmoon on the VR46 Master Camp bike. He can't make his way past the finish rider. A big shake of the head. So much frustration for him. It finally makes his way past. Oh, he's down! Oh, the race leader, Jari Montella, has crashed out, and Nicky Thule hits the front. front. Oh, we shouldn't have mentioned it.
Jack, what have you done?
Jari Montella has led the race so comfortably all race long, and he's crashed out with 4 laps remaining. Nicky Tooley, he was frustrated 10 seconds ago with Anapab Armoon possibly ending his race. He won't believe his luck to have seen Montella on the ground.
Oh, disaster for the Italian. He gets going though. What position is he? Still in a good position, I think. 4th, is it?
Possibly in 4th place. So, oh, what a disaster for the Italian.
Let's have a look at it. Oh, the rear comes out. Ooh, camera take a good whack there as well.
Spat over the top. He was so close. He was over 2 seconds, possibly even 3 seconds, with Nicky Tooley getting held up. Oh, penny for their thoughts in the speed-up garage, the Chiata Racing team.
The good thing is he is still 4th, which is miraculous really after a rider crashing to still be in 4th. 5 seconds to the rider behind him, so a crash and a 4th.
Oh, he's down again. Oh, unbelievable. That's through turn number 8. And for the second time this lap, Montella's down, and surely that is that for the former race leader. It was comfortable. We were singing his praises. He was about to become the first ever man to win a European Moto2 race on a speed-up, and he's blown it.
What a shame for the Italian. I blame you for that, Jack, for mentioning that stat.
I know, I knew I shouldn't have mentioned it. Possibly inexperience showing for the young 19-year-old. Nicky Tooley will not have believed his luck to see him on the floor.
Not at all.
And what a ride this is coming from, because another fortunate man to jump up onto the podium is the number 32 of Ramdan Rosley. 5 appearances in the Moto2 World Championship last season with a best of 12 in Sepang. But for the past 3 years, his main focus has been the Asia Road Racing Championship Supersport. It's a debut in the European Moto2 class. This is the second of his crashes. And again, it's the rear that comes round.
Looks like he's barely pushing as well, Jack.
He was going so steady there.
Maybe it's the tyres cooling down or something like that.
Possibly,
sure,
but for turn number 7, where he went down the first time around, he was definitely pushing when the rear end came round.
Yeah.
And Tooley has now got a 5.5 second advantage with 3 laps remaining to pick up his first victory in the European Moto2 class.
Just goes to show in these conditions, like we've said numerous times, how easy it is to crash even when you're in the race lead. The pressure's on. Let's hope it doesn't happen to Tooley. He's 5 seconds clear, so he can just take his time. Not too much time, but take his time. Watch that pit board. Keep the gap at a constant to Pons in second.
What a surprise to see Montella on the deck. We've mentioned the new surface here, how it is possibly slightly more abrasive, slightly more aggressive than what we found this time last year and in years previous. Whether that has possibly had any effect whatsoever in the tyre degradation being slightly more than what you would expect, and it's possibly just caught him out.
Yeah, team telling Tooley just to chill out a bit.
The signature calm down
over
the edge of the pit wall. You've got 2 laps to go, Nicky. Just bring it home. 6 seconds is his advantage now over Hector Garzo, with Ramdan Rosley in 3rd place. The Malaysian is going to pick up a debut podium if he can continue as we are. I'm not going to put any knockers on anybody else after he did it to poor old Jari Montella.
Yeah, let's not try and jinx anyone else, Jack.
But it looks fairly comfortable now for Nicky Tooley. 1.5 laps remaining for the wind. He's picked up podiums in World Supersports in 2016 and 2017, picked up points in the World Championship, but this will be the first time he stood on the top step of the podium for quite some time.
Yeah, took his first World Supersport win in 2017 at Magny-Cours in France, and he burst onto the scene with 3 second places in a row in Germany, France and Spain, so he's a talented rider. Yeah, fingers crossed he can get it home as we come down into where we saw Montella crash for the 2nd time a couple of laps ago. No problem for Tooley at the minute though.
So with the back markers ahead of him, I don't think he'll be too bothered about diving on the inside and risking anything too severe. Into the S's for the penultimate time. I believe that's the August twins in front of him, of Kevin and Leon.
Yeah, the gap is actually stretching for Tooley, so...
There's Kevin out the way. Now he's just got Leon to make his way past, which I'm sure he will do as he drags his way past down the start-finish straight. 6.2 seconds is his advantage. He's just going to cruise it home, surely, is Nicky Tooley to pick up the first victory, but you have to spare a thought for Jari Montella.
Absolutely, Leon August there looking behind him, getting out of the way of the race leader. Good riding from the German as Tooley enters his last lap into turn 1.
Into turn number 1 he goes, then flicks it right. He's then going to pick it up into turn number 2, another right-hander. There's Hector Pons, the runner-up last year.
He can't chill out too much because, oh no, sorry, read that wrong. 8.6, so he can take it slightly easy on this lap.
Another man that will just ease it home towards the checkered flag. A good start to the championship for him in these difficult conditions. A second place he puts behind him the nightmare weekend he had at Estoril this time last year, where he had 2 non-points finishes, a crash in the first race, and then he was unable to take part in race number 2. This time he's going to be on the podium and keep himself in championship contention. That's the team Stylo Bike Garage, which I'm sure we'll see slightly happier faces in about 30 seconds time when Nicky Tooley takes the checkered flag.
Yeah, this could be the longest minute or so of their lives coming up as Tooley enters turn 7, the right-hander. Looking good though, Tooley. I think he knows he's got a good gap. He's just got to bring it home.
Yep, he's comfortable. Here we go into turn number 7, and then quickly into turn number 9 and 10. Just get through the S's for one final time, will the Finn. Ease his way now through turns 11 and 12 before he flicks it right into parabolic at Ayrton Senna for one final time. It's a fortunate victory, you have to hand him that. It was Montella that led for the vast majority of it. But in these conditions, it's all about seeing the checkered flag. Here he comes, number 18 of Nicky Tooley picks up the first victory of the Moto2 European Championship. Comfortable in the end for the Finn. 6 seconds behind him, Hector Pons onto the podium once more, the 2015 European champion. And what a ride this is from Ramdan Rosley. First time out on a Moto2 machine in this European Championship, and he's onto the podium straight away. Delight for the Malaysian as he takes the final podium place. We're going to have to wait quite some time because it's almost 20 seconds back is Mikkel Pons, part of the Nobby Ueda squad. Those are the celebrations down pit lane for the Team Stylo Bike squad that Nicky Tooley rides for. Good little confidence boost for him before he gets the Moto E World Cup, the inaugural Moto E World Cup underway as part of the IO Motorsport squad in a few months' time at Le Mans. Before that, though, he's got a couple more, or he's got one more, should I say, European Moto2 round to contend with when we go to the Circuito Ricardo Tormo in Valencia in 3 weeks' time. There's Hector Pons, a good start to the season for him aboard the AGR Calex. That's the one thing that he will have wanted, to keep himself in contention in these conditions at round number 1. The last thing you want is to throw it up the road, just like one man who you probably could say was going to be his closest championship contender, having finished 3rd, just a couple of points behind him last year, Hector Garzo. He crashed out at turn number 2 on lap number 1. But Pons able to use that experienced head of his, those 2 years in the World Championship coming to fruition to pick up 2nd place. But for me, the ride of the day has to be Ramdan Rosley. There he is, the young Malaysian, picking up a debut podium in this category. He's been pretty much used to riding a super sport machine, to some success in the Asia Road Racing Championship. He was a regular top 10 finisher aboard. It was a Yamaha R6 last year, and we've seen so often the challenges that people face when they have to make the switch across from a super sport to a Moto2 machine. Ramdan Rosley did it well, as did this man as well, Nicky Tooley. Made his name in the World Supersport Championship, but now looking to build himself back up into the direction of the World Championship aboard a Moto2. Well, those are celebrations that we like to see in the Stylo Bike camp. Here is Nicky Tooley rolling into Peanut number 1 in Parc Fermé. Delight for them to pick up race victory number 1 here at the Circuito de Estoril. In the end, it was Montella that will take the fastest lap, but little consolation for the Italian, having crashed out of the lead with 3 laps remaining. It will be interesting to possibly speak to him later on this evening, just to find out whether the tyre was just starting to lose grip lap after lap, because he looked so comfortable. Was it just a lapse of concentration? Was it the tyre? We'll have to wait and see. Job done for Hector Pons. No great celebrations from his AGR team, because I think they know that race victories are where he should be. But it's a sensible, mature ride from the 23-year-old to find himself onto the podium in race number 1. Slightly more excitable celebrations to the left of him, to the right of him. Right here for Ramdan Rosley onto the podium for the first time in the European Moto2 class. Delight for the 1XOX squad. What a couple of weeks they've had. Remy Gardner, a debut World Championship podium Argentina 7 days ago, and now a debut European Moto2 podium for their junior rider in Ramdan Rosley just 7 days later. That'll be on Instagram later, you can be sure of that. Thumbs up. P number 3 for him. And he gets the opportunity to do it all over again later on this afternoon. The second of the European Moto2 races gets underway at 3 o'clock, so in just over 3 hours' time. Meanwhile, we'll wait for Elliot, who's made his way from the commentary box to speak with our race winner, Nicky Tooley. He'll be diving in ever so shortly to speak with the Finn after picking up what in the end was a comfortable victory. Here's Elliot with Nicky Tooley.
Nicky, a great ride in tricky conditions. What are your thoughts after that?
Yeah, of course, I'm really happy. It's the first race with the Team Stilo bike. And all the weekend in the rain condition, the riding feels really good. But for me, the level now in CEV Moto2 is really high, also in the wet. So for me, in the race, the main thing was follow the speed up guy and just ride my own race and finish the race. That was, I didn't take any risk. And maybe he pushed a little bit too hard and I saw he crashed. So this is a really good start. We just need to finish every race and that's it.
And in finish.
No joo, siis tosi tyytyväinen, että ensimmäinen kisa täällä Cevissä ja Team Stilo biken kanssa. Ja en oikeastaan koko viikonlopun tuntunut tosi hyvältä ja sateella ja kisassakin tuntui todella hyvältä, mutta kärki meni kyllä todella kovaa se yksi speed-up-pyörä siinä ja mun tavoite oli vaan seurata sitä eikä ottaa mitään riskejä, että pääasia on tulla maaliin nämä kisat ja sitten se kärkikuski teki virheen ja se käy mulle eka paikka ensimmäinen kisa ja tästä hyvä jatkaa. Kiitos tiimille ja kaikille sponsoreille, ketkä on tukenut.
Thanks, Nicky.
Nicky Tooley, the opening race winner of the European Moto2 Championship. And this is how it happened. Look at Kevin Kubo getting himself pumped in the background, the number 9. From pole position, it was Hector Pons that got a good start, as did Nicky Tooley, the Finn, as well. Pons took the whole shot from pole position, but look at that man there, Ramdan Rosley around the outside to get himself into contention. And then the first faller, a big surprise, Hector Garzo, third in the championship in 2018. Not the start he would have wanted. Pons had the early running under pressure from Tooley and Kazmiedin and shortly Jari Montella as well. And it didn't take long for the Italian to hit the front and start to assert his dominance. Eventually breaking clear, meanwhile in the back, that was Benny Solis that went down, the American crashing out of 5th place. But it was Jari Montella who, at the front, was almost 2 seconds clear, upwards of 2.5 at some stages. That's Daniel Bin Kazmiedin going down so close to collecting Hector Pons. He crashed out of 4th place, did the Malaysian rider. Tooley was trying his best with a couple of fastest laps to reel in the Italian, but he looked so comfortable out front. Meanwhile, in a lonely 4th place, that was our eventual podium finisher, Ramdan Rosley. Montella just ticked the laps away, watching his pit board, keeping the gap constant at 2 seconds. And then disaster struck in a couple of laps' time for the Italian. With 4 laps remaining, having made his way through a couple of back markers, including the teammate of Nicky Tooley. That is where his race ended in nightmare. Spat over the top the Italian, despite being 2.5 seconds clear, and just to rub salt in the wounds, that very same lap, after rejoining in 4th place, he crashed out once more, meaning he didn't even score a point. Nicky Tully could not believe his luck, picking up a debut win in the European Moto2 class. A big look behind him because he had all the time in the world. A point to the finger to his team. Tully comes out on top with Pons in 2nd and Ramdan Rosley in 3rd. So as a result of that, these are your final results in the opening Moto2 European Championship race. Nicky Tully, as we mentioned, taking the win, followed by Hector Garzo, 5.5 seconds back, and Ramdan Rosley, a debut podium. Mikkel Pons is 4th, followed by Alessandro Zaccone. Good ride from Matthias Megel and Matteo Ferrari. A good debut ride from Adam Norridin, and then Tommaso Marcon rounds out the top 9. From 10th downwards, Cedric Tanguay, Chandler Cooper, Danny Valle, Marcel Brenner, Johan Diaz, Sam Wilford, the wild card, before he undertakes the British Supersport Championship, picking up the last point, then followed by Julian Mayer, Alex Ruiz, and then we'll start to see some of the stock 600 guys. Leon August, Kevin August, both lapped on the last lap by Nicky Tully, then Anapap Sarmunu rejoined after a collision with one of the August twins, Alessandro Zetti, Livan Luchel, Matteo Cipriete, and finally Takeshi Ishizuki, with the rest, the riders, unable to see the checkered flag. So to the podium celebrations, Nicky Tully, the first man out, will dive up onto the top step of the podium, followed by Hector Garzo and Ramdan Rosley. The opening stock 600 man was Diaz as well. Good ride from him, the number 48, to pick up the opening stock 600 victory of the season. 2nd and 3rd incidentally going to Leon August and then Kevin August. And there is Diaz receiving his race winner's trophy. He'll also pick up a couple of points, having finished 14th overall. 3rd place for Ramdan Rosley, shaking hands from the dignitaries here in Portugal. Hector Pons to pick up 2nd place. Just add that to the list of European Moto2 podiums that he's picked up. But there can be some dust moved on the trophy cabinet of Nicky Tully. A World Supersport Victory Trophy, and now add to that a European Moto2 Victor's Trophy as well for the Finnish rider. He picks up the opening win, and as a result, as is customary in Repsol CV, €500 to help him drive all the way back to Finland. I don't think he'll be doing that though, possibly jumping on a flight. The Finnish national anthem rings round the Circuito de Estoril and ring rounds a Repsol CEV paddock for what you would have to guess is one of the first times, I can't remember another Finnish rider being able to win one of the European Talent Cup, Moto2 or Moto3 categories in recent years. So as a result of that one, championship standings, well, they're pretty easy to work out. It's just as we had it in the top 9, with Nicky Tully 5 points clear at this early stage of Hector Pons. Ramdan Rosley up into 3rd. Mikkel Pons is there in 4th, followed by Alessandro Zaccone, 14 points back of Tully, and then 6 down to 9th is Megel, Ferrari, Norridin and Marcon. But there are plenty of races to go, including one in about 3 hours' time, where we could see a change of that championship table. From 10th down to 15th, Cedric Tanguay, Chandler Cooper, Danny Valle, Marcel Brenner, Joan Diaz aboard the stock 600, and Sam Wilford picking up a solitary point on his wildcard ride here in Portugal. So it's the Junior World Championship that will be up next. We've got about 5 minutes before the pit lane opens. Elliot joins me back into the box. A delighted Nicky Tooley. I'm sure he couldn't have believed his luck when he saw a stricken Italian with 3 laps remaining.
No, I bet he couldn't. But yeah, like you say, you've got to stay in it to win it. And Nicky Tooley did exactly that to take the win. I am glad to report it is brightening up in Estoril, believe it or not. No blue sky, but ahead of the Moto2 Junior World Championship race, no rain.